So you don't really need a whole lot of tools in order to properly clean your brushes. The most basic thing you absolutely have to have is some kind of a brush shampoo. This one is made by Bare Minerals, but pretty much everybody who makes brushes makes some of their own, and as a nice cheap alternative, because most of these are pricey, you can actually just use like baby shampoo. So it works just fine. You just want to make sure you have something that's really delicate and isn't going to strip the oils out of your brushes, but will still get them clean. Another thing that really makes brush cleaning a whole lot easier is a brush cleaning mat. They make lots of different kinds of these. They're pretty inexpensive to pick up. I think this one was like 10 bucks on Amazon. I'll make sure I link it down below. But basically it just has, it's made out of silicone, has little suction cups on the back to stick it in your sink, and has this patterns on it to where you can, scrape your brush on it and get all the stuff out. So if you don't have one of these, you can totally just use your fingers. I do think that these help a bit, but they're not absolutely mandatory. And the final thing that you need, of course, besides dirty brushes, is a brush drying rack. This is also optional. I picked this one up off of Amazon. I think this one was also like 10 bucks. Thing I like about this one is it actually comes apart to where you can store it in your drawer or whatever, and it doesn't take up a ton of room. But the idea is just that it'll let you hold your brushes while they dry, so they dry in the right shape. I'm going to start my water running. One important note when washing brushes, you don't want the water to be too hot. If the water is too hot, it can damage the bristles and can cause them to start falling out. So we don't want to do that. So I'm going to put it on a nice lukewarm, about right in the middle, because mine is the single handle type. And with the water running, so I have a nice suction, I'm going to just stick my cleaning mat down in the sink. Waiting for my water to heat up here. Alright, so I'm going to pull my drain, and I'm just going to run a little bit of water in the bottom of my sink with the stopper down, so that way I have a nice rinse area, and I can use the top part of the mat to wash on. So I'm going to start with, oh, this one's nice and gunky. Alright, you guys have seen this one before, and it's overdue. All of these are overdue. This one's a mess. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take some of my soap, and you can use different, like I said, you can use different soaps. This one I have because it came with some brushes, and it seems to do a pretty good job. So you can put the soap directly into the bristles, but I like to put it on the mat first. So I'm going to dab this in the water. One important thing to note, you never want to turn the water on and run the water into the brush this direction, because where this is glued, this is the ferrule, where this is glued, the water can get up into that and it can break the glue down. It can cause mold because the water can't really dry out properly, all kinds of bad things. So you don't ever want to get water up in there. So you want to just dip that in there so you can control where the water is getting to, and then dip it into the soap, and it will be super sketchy. I can pick that up so you can see that. Probably not anyway, because it's in the back of my sink. But you can pretty quickly see that starts to come out. You can see how nasty that is already. So yes, this was overdue. I know when I'm supposed to wash my brushes. I just have a bad habit of not. And it is, in fact, a bad habit. If you want your brushes to last longer, you should take care of them. You should wash them on a pretty regular basis. Face brushes, like foundation brushes, concealer brushes, things that have a lot of liquid and things like that in them, should really be washed at least once a week. Eyeshadow brushes should ideally be washed when you change colors, or at least every other week. And powder brushes and things like that that don't really see a lot of liquid, and you don't really change colors on much, those should be washed at least once a month. So you can see already that this is coming out, but it's still pretty yucky. So I'm going to drain the water, and I'm going to use more warm water. I'll rinse all that stuff out there. And notice I'm going to rinse this, but I'm going to let it face down. I never want to face it up and run the water into the brush. Alright, so that's looking cleaner already. But not quite there, so I'm going to just, no pun intended, lather, rinse, repeat. I'm going to do the same thing over. And when you have really nasty brushes, you might find yourself washing them 2 or 3 times in a row just to get everything out of them. But I do recommend getting them good and clean when you do, because it's overall more efficient. All right. And you can use your fingers to get in there. And this is really what you have to do if you don't have a brush cleaning mat. They do really help kind of scrub. You don't want to be rough on your bristles. But notice it's still keeping its shape. But I don't know how much of that you can see, but look how much more still came out of this brush. Rinse that again. That one was quite nasty. That's a good one to start with. Yeah, those bristles were white at some point. I'm a bad kid, I've told you this before. And we're going to do the same thing over. And you see how much brush shampoo I'm going through. So if you want to use like baby shampoo, it is much more economical and works just fine. I just, like I said, I happen to have this because I got it free. I would not be using it otherwise. You can use some of the rougher textures to get in there, really get in there and clean it. Now we're getting somewhere. And now that those bristles are turning white again. And still, I'm going to hold that downward, and I'm just going to rinse that. I think that's clean enough. I'm just going to rinse that gently until I can tell that all the soap's out of it. Now I'm going to smooth out the bristles back into their natural shape. This one's kind of conical, and I want to keep it that way. So I'm going to smooth that out. You can't see that. So I'm going to smooth that out, hold that, smooth that out into its natural shape, which is conical. And I know it looks really like a drowned rat at this point in time, but it will fluff back out. I'll show you that when they get dry. But for the meantime, this one's done. So now I'm going to hang it in my brush dryer. Now if you don't have a brush dryer, you can just set them on the edge of your sink. Make sure that they're angled downward so the water drips out. You never want to angle them up so that the water will drip into the ferrule, same problem. But preferably you want to place them in your brush dryer. And this just holds your brush up. Can't see that. Just hold your brush up off the countertop till it dries. Lets it dry in the proper position, lets them dry a little more quickly because they're not touching each other, and that's pretty much it. So I'm just going to keep on washing brushes so you can watch, but I'll probably speed that up. because you don't want to watch 4 hours of me washing all of these. Alright, so brushes are dry, and I just want to show you how to fluff them back out when you're done. So, see, it's got kind of a crunchy shape, but if you just, it looks like a brand new brush. All better. Brand new.